One of the things that's nice about recording in a small drum booth is that you're getting kind of a natural compression. The volume of the room is pushing the sound right back into your microphones. In a larger room, it's taking longer for the sound to go away, reflect off some walls, and come back to the kit. In a small room, you're getting kind of a natural acoustic compression, which actually you're probably hearing a lot more of than you are in recordings where they use big rooms. Big rooms are really nice for huge rock and drum kits, but a lot of pop music, certainly all of the hip hop and rap, you're not really hearing those huge, loud, open space drums. You're hearing small drum booths closely mic'd. So don't feel that because you've got a small drum booth that you can't compete with the larger studios. You can get great big nice reverbs when you're mixing down. You can add plug-ins or outboard gear to simulate the sound of a larger room or a chamber or a hall or even a cathedral or something. You can add any kind of dimension you want if you start with a dry drum kit. It's a lot harder to take away the sound of a large room. Once you've got that large room, it's sort of baked into the cake, certainly baked into your overheads and your room mics. So don't think that because you don't have a huge drum room that you can't get huge, nice drum sounds. Make the most out of what you've got and use tools to achieve what you're going for. I think that pretty much covers all the different microphones that I wanted to talk about. And I'm going to show you a couple little extra things you want to have around in your drum booth. One of them is this little guy. I love these little, it's just a little, it looks like it hangs off of a lamp. It's got a little loop on the edge here, but you can put those on a cymbal. And when you hit that cymbal, it's going to vibrate against it. Those beads are going to be bouncing on that and give that nice jazzy sizzle that changes the sound of your drum. Also nice on a crash. You could even put them on a ride if you wanted. You could probably make your own. If you went to the hardware store and had a little piece of string, you could make your own. Really nice to have. Some extra felts. When people are bringing in different cymbals, it's nice to have a few extra pieces of felt for your cymbals. I also recommend obviously having a drum key handy in case the drummer forgot his, which they always do. If the drummer forgets his sticks, you've got another problem. But a drum key is good to have handy. There's another kind that has a ratchet that is really nice for, in addition to tuning drums, but also quickly changing a drum head. It's really fast to do that, especially in conjunction with a key. You can change out a drum head pretty quickly with those two guys. So a couple different drum keys. A nice little adjustable wrench is always nice to have for adjusting stands. You never know what you're going to conga tuning. It's good to have a little wrench lying around to tighten up stuff. And you might consider giving the drummer or whoever's in the booth his or her own little remote control for the air conditioning unit. Tell him or her to make sure to turn it off when they're recording, but when it gets hot they can turn it on and they'll be in charge of their own air conditioning unit that way, but that can be handy for them. Just make sure to double check to make sure that they're turning that off when they record, otherwise you've got that air conditioner bleeding into everything. Lastly, it's handy to have a nice little small measuring tape that's quick to measure the distances between the snare and your overheads, stuff like that. It's good to have, or if you forget the size of a drum, you can measure them as well. So a little measuring tape comes in handy. There we go. This is the air conditioning unit that I installed in the wall, and I built this custom piece of baffle to soundproof it, and it slips off very easily. It's just made of a piece of plywood with a little rim on it that I measured to fit snugly around the air conditioning unit. You can see it's a pretty big unit. This is a Panasonic, just like the camera. And I built this nice white mahogany. I got some nice wood and trimmed that out basically cut a hole in the wall for the air conditioner, put the air conditioner in, squared it away, and then I built a frame around it, even with some nice trim there. It looks really nice. And so I wanted it to look good if it's being used like this, but I also wanted to be able to cover it up, and so that just sits on there like that, kind of like a pill bottle. And then I cover. This is foam, a couple squares of foam that I bought at Home Depot, and then some beautiful cloth that I've got in some other areas of the studio as well. And that makes a really nice air conditioning unit. As I said, it's really big. It cools down the room very quickly. And then I turn it off, cover that up, and that keeps pretty much all the sound down. If there's something really loud out there, like a chainsaw or a lawnmower or something like that, that might get through a little bit, so I do have to watch out for that. But most of the time, this is great, especially for just a drum room like this. This isn't a 100% soundproof room like my other vocal booth is. So there you have it. Also a nice little shelf for all of your little tools and things that I mentioned. In addition to the air conditioning unit, in this bedroom downstairs, these were 2 exterior windows. Both of these went to the outside backyard, and obviously I needed to cover those up. So what I've done is, first of all, I built a nice little supporting rail there below, and then out of this is pretty thick plywood boards. I think this is 1/2-inch plywood that I purchased some pretty thin foam. This isn't very thick foam, but I purchased some foam, and with adhesive spray I glued that to the plywood, obviously cut it to shape to fit the window just right, and then covered once I glued that on there, I stretched this piece of nice cloth around that, and actually I think I put the cloth on first, adhesive sprayed that to the foam, and then I put the foam on and glued that to the plywood. And then I framed it out. I built this nice little frame around it. This is just a nice trim you can get from the hardware store or Home Depot. And so that keeps out a lot of sound. It also obviously serves as a diffuser in the room. It breaks up the echoes in the room a lot and really helps this room sound good. And then it's also a nice security feature. As you can see, these are hex bolts. I think you can see that there. These are hex bolts that I bolted that into the frame, the window frame. So that's not going anywhere. It's going to keep any intruders from getting in very easily. They'd really have to want to come through this window. So that's going to be an added security advantage to it. So it serves a lot of purposes. Nice little baffle to make the room sound good, keeps the extraneous noise from getting in, and it keeps intruders out. And if anybody does get into the studio, they're not going out this window. It would take them some time to get all these bolts undone. I think there's 6 of them, 1 in each corner and 2 in the middle. That's really super solid. One over here as well, as you can see. So that makes a nice little corner. This is actually a really good corner to do vocals. I used to do vocals in here before I set up the drums. This little booth is really nice for doing vocals and stuff because I've got this little corner set up. This is the monkey mural. This was a pretty large baffle that I put on this wall here to diffuse sound and make the room sound better. It originally was just a big frame that I built with a piece of mattress pad that you can get from the store. I just cut out the pad. I think it's about that thick, a couple inches thick, and framed that out, and then I stretched a big piece of canvas across the top of it. And it worked really well for sound, but it didn't look so great. It was getting kind of dingy because people were brushing up against it all the time, moving drums in and out. So what I did was I had a local artist, John Warner, come in, and I asked him if he would paint me some kind of graffiti art. I just wanted some color. I didn't expect him to go all out. He really did a nice job here. He spent about 3 long days on it. I just thought he would come in for a few hours and kind of spray it with spray paint. But local artists are always looking for something great to display their work. And he spent 3 long days down here painting this with acrylic paint, and it's just amazing. One of the highlights of the studio. When I show people around the studio, I always bring them in here and show them the drum kit, and then of course the monkey mural. And John asked me, he said, "Do you like?" He was asking what kind of concept I was looking at, and I said something musical, something fun and musical and very colorful. And he said, "Do you like monkeys?" And I said, "I sure do, John." So he made me the monkey mural, and I'll step out of the way here so you can see it. One of the things that a lot of people don't notice is this hand right here. You can see all the apes jamming, but this hand right here is part of a bigger picture. You can see there's a big King Kong up there holding and playing this gong back behind me here. So let me step out of the way so you can see that. The monkey mural. Here's another piece of foam that I installed on the wall. It's the same kind of foam. You can get them in tiles. These are 2-foot tiles behind here. You can't see them, of course, but I think this goes floor to ceiling, and I think there's 6 or maybe 8 tiles. I left a little gap in between them, just a little 2-inch gap between it, and also this way, so that they're not butt up against each other. And then put them in this nice frame. This isn't very expensive wood. This is just a nice pine wood frame I built for them, and bolted that again to the wall. Let's see if you can see that. And yeah, so that makes a really nice bass trap. This is opposite the kick drum, so that kick drum hits this pretty well, and that breaks it up a lot. This really was a good investment. It wasn't cheap, but it's cheaper than getting stuff shipped to Hawaii. And if you can get the foam at Home Depot, I think they're about 15 or 20 bucks a square. They're not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than the foam you're going to get online from companies like Warlex. But those are great too. I've got some of those in my other rooms. But if you're looking for a quick way to build a drum baffle, that's a good way to do it. And I just had this this is from Costa Rica. A friend of mine brought that back. I don't know if you can see the monkey or not, but it's a continuation of the monkey theme that seems to be developing in my drum booth. Anyway, and then back on this side, I don't know if you noticed it over my shoulder. This was actually, John, when he painted the mural, this was the palette that he used. It was just a piece of cardboard that he had all his different colors on, his acrylic paints. And it was just in the trash, he threw it out, but I just love the look of it. And it, of course, matches the colors of the mural. So anyway, I put that up there. He was surprised to see that I saved that. It was garbage to him, but I thought it was really nice and colorful. So there you go. So there's another nicely built baffle for you to, it's a nice weekend project. And of course, get yourself some nice cloth. The tiles themselves aren't very attractive. They're just kind of a foam white neutral. So get yourself some nice, this is actually a pretty expensive cloth. This is a nice thick, kind of a Chinese style, has a very kind of Asian look to it. But I actually didn't purchase this cloth. The guy that sold me my mixing console, when he moved back to Berlin, he sold me the console, and he had a bunch of stuff in his home that he was getting rid of, so he just kind of gave me all this beautiful cloth that he had used as draperies in his studio. So that came with the mixing board. So there you have it. I just wanted to take a second to show you this thing you might have noticed over my shoulder during the video. This is another baffle that is disguised as art. It's something, as you've seen here a couple times, I disguise art I disguise baffles with art. And this is just a nice Indian hand-woven tapestry that I got actually in Wisconsin. And it was still something I like. This is actually a piece of beaver wood. This is, if you look carefully on this, you can see this was gnawed by beavers. And I just really like it's sort of like an Escher print. But what you don't notice about it is that behind here, I've got it glued, the same pieces of foam tile to it. I just used spray adhesive. I used spray adhesive on the back and glued them to the tapestry, and that acts as a sound foam. It works really well in this little corner here. So between the monkey mural and this, it breaks up this corner a little bit, and it's good to look at too. So you really don't see any sound tile in the room except sort of this kind of thing, but even this doesn't really look like sound tile. And that, you know, I've got this stuff all around my room, which works really well. And the floor you don't see is slate tile, and I've got a piece of carpet down underneath the drum kit, so that helps a lot. But I do have a nice slate tile throughout the studio here, which is really nice on wear and tear. When you get a lot of bands and traffic coming through the studio, I can't say I recommend having a lot of carpeting, or certainly not permanent carpeting. It gets stained easily, it wears out, and in Hawaii it's very rainy here, so having a slate tile floor was really a great investment that I made. It takes traffic well, it looks good, it's very easy to clean, and it offers a really nice hard reflective surface if you need that, and you can cover it up with carpet area rugs if you don't want that much surface. So think about your flooring if you're doing a hardwood or some kind of tile or slate. Those are really high traffic floorings that are going to do really well. Carpeting, you're going to have to clean it. You're going to have to replace it every once in a while as well. So don't forget about your flooring. It's the foundation of your studio, literally. So make sure you do that before you move in any equipment. It's the first thing you have to do, except for paint. You got to paint and then put your flooring down. Okay, check it out. Got that in Spring Green, Wisconsin. I just wanted to show you my little headphone box here. It's nothing fancy. I got these for relatively cheap. They're these little amps that you get. They plug in a little power supply like that, which you have to unplug when you're not using it. There's no on-off switch. But they're very simple to operate. It's nothing fancy. You just plug in a stereo input, and then you've got 4 different outputs here, and each of them has their own little volume. That's all. You just have a volume knob. There's no mix or other EQ adjustments or anything like that. It's just an easy, quick little volume knob that you can have up to 4 different headphones coming out. It's nice if you've got 4 singers or something like that, but obviously in the drum booth like that, I just have the one. I'm just using that one. But I got 3 or 4 of these in different rooms. They're very cheap, relatively cheap and easy to install. I just wish they had a little on-off switch. That's really the only setback about them. You just have to unplug them at the end of the day. Or if you leave them on, it's no big deal. I've had no problems with them. I had them a few years now, and they're very, very easy to use, and made of metal. And you can link a couple of them together, so if you had more than 4 people, you could run the output from one of the headphones to another box and have another 4 inputs. So I just wanted to point that out to you. As you can see, it's nothing fancy. I've just got it mounted on the cymbal stand with a washcloth here and some tape, but I could build a little box, a little mount for that, I guess, if I wanted to, but that works really well. I think that's about it, guys. I've discussed everything I can discuss on this side of the glass. Let's jump over into the control room, and we'll discuss some of the ways that I bring up all these different microphones on my mixing console.